This is the Season Long Podcast in support of the YouTube channel SeasonLongBaller. Hope you are having a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for joining us again, and we will hop right into Season Long Podcast number 34. We talked about this last week when we were talking on 33 about what we're going to be looking at in 2K24, specifically for Jaymont Summerz. As you see, now he's been fully built out. We'll explain why, but in case you're new to the channel, Jaymont Summerz is our player build that we created back on NBA 2K23. He is a 6'5" point guard out of William & Mary. We decided to pick a non-basketball power, so to make it a little more interesting there. And that is why he wears, in case you've noticed, just as a little fancy touch there, that's why he wears the green rubber band on his left wrist, because that's kind of, the green is a color of William & Mary, which is a college in the Hampton Roads area in Virginia. Decided to build him so he wouldn't be, like at Kentucky or something like that. Now, he's a member of the Washington Wizards because last season on NBA 2K23, the point guard of the Washington Wizards was Monte Morris. Now, no disrespect to Monte Morris, but we were looking to put Summerz, the point guard. Of course, we're going to play point guard with our player build when we're playing a full 82-game season. We wanted to put our point guard on a team that he would feasibly get playing time, he'd feasibly be playing. Now, he's not going to take over, say, the Phoenix Suns over Chris Paul, or obviously he's not going to displace Steph Curry with the Golden State Warriors, and we didn't want to put him in place of a young point guard like, say, a LaMelo Ball with the Charlotte Hornets. So because of that, we had to find a team that kind of fit the bill, and one of those was the Washington Wizards, who kind of had Monte Morris as kind of a stopgap, you could say. And Morris now is in Detroit. He's left the Wizards, so he's not even on the Wizards in NBA 2K24. And as I mentioned last week, that's not obviously going to get the pub that Kristaps Porzingis leaving or being traded, and of course Bradley Beal being traded in their respective deals to the Boston Celtics and the Phoenix Suns, respectively. So that's how Jaymont Summerz ended up on the Washington Wizards. This season on NBA 2K24, taking a look at that again, who is the Wizards point guard? Tyus Jones, acquired from the Memphis Grizzlies, former backup to Ja Morant. He wanted a starting role. He will have that in the real NBA, of course, with the Wizards. But for us, he is not a better player than Jaymont Summerz, and Summerz had his way with him in the NBA Finals last season, as you may recall. Summerz and the Wizards defeated the Grizzlies 4-1 to get the chip. With all of that being said, Jaymont Summerz is again going to be the starting point guard for the Washington Wizards. And as you can see here, his overall rating of 84 is better than anyone on the Wizards currently on 2K24. Kuzma is second with 83, and Jordan Poole, acquired during the offseason as well, is an 82. I thought Poole was going to be a little bit higher, but he is only an 82. So how did we get here? So the first thing is, again, if you're new to the channel, last season in what would be Jaymont Summerz' draft class, Chet Holmgren was one of the draft picks. As you know, he's in the draft class with Paolo Banchero was the number 1 pick. Chet Holmgren, of course, in real life did not play due to an injury suffered in the offseason, and he missed the entire season, unfortunately. But in our simulation, he did play. Now, you see, he's a 77 overall, and that's the result of him not playing, I'm sure, last season. And he has 2 player badges. So, Summerz did play last season. Summerz was the Rookie of the Year. We'll talk about that in just a moment in our simulation. But, as you see, Chet Holmgren, who was picked in the class last year, you see he's a 77 overall. Jabari Smith Jr., picked by the Houston Rockets, a 79 overall. He has no player badges yet. But again, another player drafted high in that draft class. But the main one we want to talk about is Paolo Banchero, the Rookie of the Year in real life. Banchero had a great season, and he started the season, if I recall right, last season, he started with 3 player badges. You see, he is now up to 21 and an overall of 84. Jaymont Summerz was the Rookie of the Year in our simulation, had 2 player badges, and so I figured it's probably fair to make Summerz an 84, just like Banchero is. But since he was the Rookie of the Year and Banchero wasn't in our simulation, he should probably get 1 more badge, right? Like, an 85 might be too high, but an 84 might be fair. At least that was the thinking. And last season, that was our thinking. Banchero was a 70 78 or 79 overall, I believe, when the season started. And we couldn't make him better than the number one draft pick in the draft. We couldn't make Summerz better than Banchero. So we made Summerz a 78 to start the season. But now, season later, Banchero had a great season, of course, in real life, and Summerz was the rookie of the year in our simulation. And so Summerz was given an 84. Here's the other interesting thing. We played off in NBA 2K23. We went ahead and played through the offseason, and we wanted to see what the computer would actually give us. And it turns out the computer was actually thinking close to what we were thinking. Jaymont Summerz was given an 84 overall and given 22 player badges. And as you can see those right there, he got 1 finishing badge, 7 shooting badges, 13 playmaking badges, and 1 in the defense and rebound category. And we will break those down a little bit more here in just a few moments. But again, pretty much close to what we were thinking. Summerz getting the rookie of the year. Of course, that was probably considered when giving him the badges and how he played and the overall rating. So an 84, 22 badges, that feels just about right. And let me know what you think in the comment section. Looking at some of his attributes during the season, as you see, we tried to keep close to exactly what the computer gave us from 23, which you see down there in the box, as opposed to what we are giving him. Well, we tried to line him up perfectly, of course, with the attributes. And as you see, this is what he had or was given by the computer in NBA 2K23 down there in the picture-in-picture there. And then we matched that on NBA 2K24. So you can see the interior defense, the block, steal, all of that was aligned with what we got from the computer. Now, as for the badges, again, the total being 22, and that is what we got from NBA 2K23. So we went to 24 to try to match these badges up. And of course, it was hard to do a 1-for-1 in a lot of cases because some badges that NBA 2K23 gave Summerz did not translate over in NBA 2K24. So here's what we did come up with. He got a bronze in the catch and shoot, a bronze in comeback kid, a bronze and corner specialist, Deadeye, which was not one. That was one I think that we had to move from another category because they did not have an equivalent of something from 23 to 24. And you will see a few of those. There are about 7 of those that did not translate. Among those, Bully, for example, did not translate from 23 to 24. Bully didn't come over. So we did take Bulldozer, for example, for 24. Guard Up, also a bronze. Limitless Range. Now, you'll notice that Limitless Range is a silver with Jaymont Summerz now because that was one of the 2 badges he had last season along with Dimer. He had a bronze in Dimer and Limitless Range, and now he has a silver in Limitless Range, and he will have, spoiler alert, a silver in Dimer as well. Space Creator, a bronze there. Ankle Breaker, a bronze as well. Bailout, another bronze. And there you see the silver for Dimer that we just mentioned. Handles for Days, Hyperdrive, Killer Combos, Needle Threader, Special Delivery, which is another one instead of Floor General, which I know had been in some of the previous iterations of NBA 2K, but Floor General did not come over, so we moved over to Special Delivery in this particular case for NBA 2K24. Unpluckable, Blow By, and again, these are all bronzes. As I mentioned, the only silvers were Dimer and Limitless Range. Physical Handles, Pogo Stick, which actually was on NBA 2K23, so that one came over. Bulldozer, as I mentioned, that was substituted for Bully from the last game. Rebound Chaser, which was one that we had to equate. We moved that one over from NBA 2K20. Well, we did move it over from NBA 2K23. That is a substitution from NBA 2K23. And finally, Giant Slayer, which was what we substituted for Mismatch. What was that called? Mismatch. Well, it's the Mismatch Master. I think that's the name of that badge on NBA 2K23. And we went with Giant Slayer on NBA 2K24. So that is the 22 badges that Jaymont Summerz will be operating with in this season on NBA 2K24. Now you see how close do you think we got? On the left is NBA 2K23's Jaymont Summerz, and on the right is what he will be looking like in NBA 2K24. The original player build, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, the original player build for Jaymont Summerz is down in the description, and it is in the beginning, of course, of the season for NBA 2K23 if you'd like to go back and look at that. And you see on NBA 2K23 there on the left, you see the Bill Russell memorial patch there, the number 6 on the jersey. Summerz on the right, that's the NBA 2K24. So tell me what you think. You think if that's relatively close? Now, taking a quick look at how our season will begin. Remember, starting the season again on October 25th, when we will be facing, just like we did last season, the Indiana Pacers. We will follow that up with the Memphis Grizzlies, the team we defeated in the NBA Finals 4-1. We will see what happens with Ja Morant. Still trying to figure out how I can possibly not have him play in that game. Not sure how that will happen yet. And don't forget, that's the ring night for us with the Wizards after we won the chip. So taking a quick look at what we've got, we'll probably do another podcast or two before the season starts. Remember, again, as I mentioned, October 25th is when the season will be kicking off against the Indiana Pacers in Indiana. We're going to try to do a live stream here in the next week or two. Keep it locked to our community. We will, at some point there, announce when we will try to do a live stream, probably just practicing, scrimmaging, and talking NBA. And then the season, we'll have some more details coming up soon. But remember, the season, again, kicking off on October 25th. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Season Long Podcast, number 34, the Jaymont Summerz edition. Again, October 25th is the big date. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining us. This is Season Long Baller.